Today, in this episode of the Jamie Kern Lima Show podcast, if you're ready to feel the freedom of being the real you, finally, if you're ready to build better friendships or strengthen the ones you have and truly learn how to be a girl's girl, if you'd like to release negativity and experience more joy in your life today, then this episode with the incredible Chelsea Handler, who shares things she's never shared before, is for you. Get ready to laugh, cry, and raise your vibration in more ways than one.
I felt proud, that I was able to face that moment. I felt proud that I was able to be an adult. I mean, I'm getting emotional just talking about it because it is so meaningful, because all you really want in life is to have an impact on people, you know? That's what I want. I want people to feel impacted by me. I want people to feel better and to know that, I'm your sister, you know?
Chelsea, in a lot of the research I've done for today and talking to lots of people, I felt like the through line I heard from people is that you're a kick-ass girlfriend.
That's the biggest compliment you could ever give me, is telling me that I'm a great sister and a great friend. That's what I wanted to be, and that's who I want to be. I want to show up, and I would do it for a stranger. You don't have to know me. If you're in need and I know you and I see you and I come across you, I will help you. You can fucking bet your bottom dollar I will help you, pick you up and patch you back together and do whatever I can because, we have to stick together as women. All of the blockades that I experienced in my beginning of my career were by women. Not by men. They were trying to block my success and tell me I didn't have the value that I believed I had. Yeah, that's success. One more woman succeeding means more success for all of us. And it's so much more infectious to be optimistic and to be hopeful and to be happy about people rather than talking shit behind people's back and gossiping and all of the small vibrational qualities. I've done that in my life and it has yielded the results that weren't beneficial to me.
Woo! That is so good. That right there. No, I feel like that is the greatest life advice. To get the thing you want, you have to vibrate at the level of the thing to get it. And what you're just describing is so poignant and so powerful because you're saying once you want more things for other people, once you say we all rise higher, all of a sudden you get more of that in your own life and you also feel more joyful. Today with you, Chelsea, because this is our first day meeting in person. And I was like, all right, I know Chelsea said her book, she's always on time. So I think she's going to for sure show up.
I'm early.
I love it. I love it.
On time even. I'm such a loser. My parents never picked me up from school on time. So I've never been late to anything as an adult because I just hate the idea of being abandoned and anyone waiting for me. I hate that. I find it to be, I'm always early. So yeah, sorry, I was
Do you
way
feel like
early.
you have abandonment issues?
Yes, of course.
At 10 years old, you saved all your money, you bought yourself a first-class ticket, and then the rest of your family was in coach. So you're 10, you're walking on a plane, and you're like, oh no, Mom, I'm gonna fly first class. And you figure it out. Where did that knowing come from that seems to be maybe different from some of the people that you were raised around?
I always had this feeling that I was going to have a big, loud life. I said, I'm going to become famous. And I said, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I have a lot to say, and I'm going to help a lot of people. And my aunt looked at me and said, well, you better lose some weight.
You're declaring it out loud. I'm going to be famous. I'm going to impact a lot of people. And then you did something about it. You went for it.
It was so meaningful, right? And my cousin had the actual video of her telling me that I was going to be, that if I wanted to make it in Hollywood, I was going to have to lose weight, which she had been denying. Confidence isn't a gift that everyone receives, right? Everyone doesn't feel confident all the time. So I've realized that my confidence is a power tool.
I felt injected. I felt injected. You can't buy that. You can't fake that.
When I was younger, I would make rash decisions and I would be reactive and I would be angry. And I no longer operate that way. And I'm a happier person because of it. I like to play hard and I like to work hard and I want all of the experiences.
I'm going to ask you about your ski instructors in a few minutes. Because I also love living vicariously through you.
I want to be good. I want to be a good girl. You know what I mean? And not the way that, like, I don't want to be submissive. I want to be a good girl because I want to be a good person and I want to help other people be good women. Being present is the biggest gift you can give yourself. To not be consumed with worry about the past or something that happened, to kind of look at everything and know it's going to be okay either way.
Jamie Kern Lima is her name.
Everybody needs Jamie Kern Lima in their life.
Jamie Kern Lima.
Jamie, you're so inspiring.
Jamie Kern Lima.
I am so excited for this episode today with the amazing Chelsea Handler. You guys get ready to laugh, cry, and raise your vibration in more ways than one. If you are ready to release and free yourself of negativity, stop taking yourself so seriously and feel more joy. Chelsea is sharing the raw and honest ways she did that she's never shared before, and how you can too, if you're ready to live life on your own terms and feel that freedom of finally being who you truly are, confidently and unapologetically, then today's episode is truly going to change your life. Chelsea Handler is a multiple award-winning writer, comedian, producer, TV host, activist, and the author of 6 consecutive New York Times best-selling books. And her brand new book, I'll Have What She's Having, is going to be her 7th. And as you're listening to this podcast right now, take a moment and follow Chelsea's ultra popular podcast too. It's called Dear Chelsea, and it's in its 5th season. She's on tour right now. She has a Las Vegas residency at the Cosmopolitan. You can get tickets right now to see her. And we are so fortunate that she has taken a moment right in the middle of her tour to be here in person in Southern California and the Jamie Kern Lima Show podcast studios to share this powerful conversation together with you and me today. Chelsea Handler, welcome to the Jamie Kern Lima Show.
Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful to be here. You're just an absolute delight. Thank you.
Have you ever arrived with multiple types of ice?
No, but whoever my next lover is needs to pay close attention to this because if they have my Diet Ginger Ale that I love and multiple options for ice, also another love and passion of mine, yeah, that gets you in. That really hits all the right notes for me.
I do my homework.
Thank you.
I do my homework.
Thank you so much.
Your book is amazing. Like, your book is amazing. I read it cover to cover, and I feel like the sign of a great book, like a real great book, isn't just when it sort of like entertains you or takes you, but also like really shifts you. And I felt like your book, I left reading your book feeling shifted.
Oh.
Like I felt shifted. I felt more empowered, and I almost felt like I was able to borrow your courage to be more bold, is how I felt. And I think that's really powerful. So I just want to say, you know, for every person who wants to learn to use and discover their own voice, or maybe for every person who is on a healing journey, every person who wants, you know, is about to leave a relationship and say, I'm not going to trade myself for being in this relationship. I'm not going to settle for that. Or for anyone who really wants to, you know, embrace the power and freedom of like being who they truly are and to kind of stop apologizing for it. I feel like there's so much in this book that I took away. So I just want to say congratulations, and it's gonna impact a lot of people.
Thank you so much. My hope has been, especially with this book, is to inject optimism and female empowerment, any empowerment really, to anyone who feels disempowered, and to highlight that it is always possible to capture light in darkness.
You dedicated the book to flight attendants and said you've been on so many flights, and if anyone is being an asshole, they can just tap your shoulder. You're going to step up and have their back. Have you always had the confidence to speak your mind and say how you feel?
Yeah, I mean, misplaced confidence, in the beginning, because I was like this as a very young girl, which I also talk a lot about in the book. I've always had been I've always been resistant to injustice and authority figures, quite frankly. But injustice very much as I've grown older and realized that confidence isn't a gift that everyone receives, right? Everyone doesn't feel confident all the time. So I've realized that my confidence is a power tool, and I have to use that judiciously. And I feel when people are being treated badly or unfairly, like that is the best use of my voice. And I've never seen anything happen more consistently or more terrible treatment happen consistently than I have on planes. and and the way that our flight attendants, who are our sisters in the sky, are treated during COVID, during post COVID. We haven't really ever recovered from COVID socially, and what people think is appropriate to do on planes or the license they take. And I find that to be completely disrespectful to flight attendants. They are stuck with us in a tube of air for however long your flight is, and they deserve to be respected.
Yeah.
And they deserve to be, it's more than respect. They can really, they're taking care of us, and they're like our nannies.
Yeah.
So like, we really need to value them and treat them well.
When you look at the studies, it's shocking that the majority of women are people pleasers, and we're scared to speak our mind or to say the truth, or it might offend
Yes.
somebody. Are you able? And you talk about doing it for injustice, which is such a great. By the way, for anyone listening, this is such a great hack. If you're like, I don't know how to speak my mind, uh, uh, when you make it about someone else, it's almost easier to do it. Like, oh, I'm actually helping this person, then it's easier to stand up for yourself and say how you feel. Are you able, Chelsea, to do that as fearlessly when it's for yourself?
That's a great question. No, not always. Sometimes I suck it up because I know I can. Like, I can be like, okay, well, that's not about me. That's not going to impact me in a deleterious way that it might impact another person. So I would say I'm more protective of others. You know what I mean? Because I want to make sure that if people don't feel empowered, I've got your back. I have that attitude.
Yeah.
But I'm not shy about standing up for myself. Sometimes I just feel like it's not worth it. I don't need that. I don't need to do that. But very recently I did stand up for myself in a big way, and I had to make a move in my life that kind of was a bummer, but also I needed to take care of myself. And I'm proud of the way that I am able to make decisions at this point in my life. I'm proud of the woman that I've become. I'm proud of all the work that I've put in to become this more self-aware, kinder, still bold and still brave person. And all I want to do is inject that into other people. Like, I want everyone to feel this way.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, when you walked in today, that's what I was saying, that I was very not, and I never try to have any expectations when I read a book, and I just think, oh, this is someone's offering to the world. What a gift it is for me to read it, is how I kind of approach it. And I felt injected. I felt injected. I felt injected from your book. And so it does that. And that's why I think I'm so passionate about it right now and fired up about it, because that is, you can't buy that. You can't fake that. I really felt that. When you say you did that recently in your life, are you referring to ending a relationship and choosing yourself over your relationship, or something
It was a
else?
professional relationship, so it wasn't a personal relationship, but yeah, it was a professional relationship. I left my agency recently, and I had been there for a really long time.
Yeah.
And that was a difficult decision to make, one that I thought about long and hard, because there were a few people at that agency who, really were working so hard for me. But at the end of the day, I had to step up and decide what I want my future to look like. And I know I made the right decision. So it was difficult, but I faced it, and I didn't cower away from an uncomfortable conversation. I didn't do anything. I'm never craven, when I never like take the easy way out or let someone else make the call. Like, I'm very intentional about, I'm going to tell you that our relationship's over. I'm not going to have someone else do it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take the easy road out because I'm a conflict avoidant or any of that. I'm not any of those things.
Yeah.
And while many conversations are uncomfortable, there's a lot to be said about being face to face with someone and giving them that kind of news in a careful, delicate way and an honest way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm proud of that also.
How did your old agency handle it?
They were so gracious. They were so gracious to me because we've been in a relationship for many years, and they know me well, and they know the type of person that I am and how hard I work. And, some other parts of the agency weren't really working in concert. So they understood.
Mm-hmm.
And that was another example of the way that my relationships have been built. Like the fact that there wasn't anger or resentment, and there's, you're always welcome here. If you ever want to come back, please come back. And like, that's exactly how I want things to end. When I was younger, I would make rash decisions, and I would be reactive, and I would be angry. And I no longer operate that way. And I'm a happier person because of it.
Well, they should say you're always welcome back, because before today, I always knew you as somebody blessed by your talent, but as someone that watched it, right? Watched you on television, like was blessed by your talent. Doing the research for the past few weeks for today, and tell me if this is right. You have to be a crazy hard worker, because the number of shows you have produced, executive produced, launched out into the world that are in partnership with other people, ones that you've done. I mean, I'm talking about the things that you have done in your career so far. I mean, and you're on tour right now. You have a residency. You're about to film another Netflix special. And in the middle of it, you're driving up here to see me in Montecito to do this show. And I'm looking at all that. Have you always been, and are you now, just a really, really, really hard worker?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to be a hard worker. I'm a hustler.
Yeah.
That's what this business is, hustling.
Yeah.
I've been doing this since when I became very successful, probably 30, 32 was when Chelsea Lately began. But I had a lot of success before that wasn't as big, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my career started kind of taking off. I published my first book when I was 27. I was on a show called Girls Behaving Badly. I had a few development deals. So I had little pockets of success, and I was the drumbeat was going in the right direction.
Yeah.
But since I can remember, like even when I was on Chelsea Lately for 7 years, I did that show 5 days a week or 4 days a week. And then I would be on a book tour every single weekend. I would fly to 3 different cities or 2 different cities and do anywhere from 3 to 6 shows a weekend, fly back on a Monday morning, do all of that again. And I've always been able to really hit it hard. I take long breaks when I have time. I'll take a month off and go to my house in Spain. I'm about to leave for Whistler for a month because I like to play hard and I like to work hard and I want all of the experiences.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you about your ski instructors in a few minutes. Because I also love living vicariously through you as well, as everyone who reads this book is going to. It's going to be quite an adventure. With you, I want to just hit on something you just said because it's really powerful. You said when you left your agency, because here's the thing, I think about everyone listening and watching us right now who's in a friendship that they know is like not serving them, but they don't want to hurt that person. And so they don't tell the truth, or they're in a relationship, or they're, whatever it might be. And you being in an agency for a long time, probably working in partnership with a lot of people there, you're saying, no, I'm actually going to do the best thing for me, even if it maybe lets other people down. What's your advice for doing that for someone listening who's like, I don't want to disappoint everyone else, or I don't want to, or they've been there for me in the past and they're okay now, but I know that I deserve so much better?
I think that in life, like it is a measure of your character to be able to meet the moments that you are in, and especially difficult conversations and handling difficult emotions is character growth. And we are tested so many times throughout our life to be that, to step up to the plate, to be an honorable person. I want to be moral. I want to be ethical. I don't want to lie. Sometimes we have to lie, but, or it's the best thing to do to. But when you are coming from a place of integrity,
Yeah.
which is not a word that can ever be underused or undervalued, because really integrity is just the most important thing.
Yeah.
So many parts of the world are lacking, or so many areas are lacking, so it's so important to, when you're making a decision or you're breaking up a relationship and you're doing it because of your best interest, there is a very gentle way to do those things. And the other person can receive that in a, like, when you are mindful and intentional about how you are relaying that information, it's not really your problem how the other person receives that.
Mm.
All you have to do is honor both of you in that conversation. You can't take care of someone else's emotional reaction to what you've said when you're coming from a place of self, not preservation even, but self, like integrity. Like, this no longer works for me. I'm so sorry, but I respect you and I appreciate everything we've been through together thus far. You have been a huge addition to my life. And right now, this doesn't make any sense for me. It doesn't make sense for me to move forward. And I really have to think about myself, because who else is going to think about me if I don't think about myself? So, while the nuances may differ depending on what relationship you're ending, I think there's always a loving, gentle way to let someone know that we're going to put this on pause. Nothing is final. I don't think that is good language to use. Slamming doors and keeping them closed forever isn't loving. There's always possibility that we could circle back around. And I think that's also a nice kind of way to let people, know, like, maybe we will come back together at some point, but this isn't the right time right now for me. And I need you to respect that. And while people's reactions may vary, and, some people may be angry or hurt or feel rejected, there's nothing bad that can come from acting with integrity.
That is so good. There's nothing bad that can come from acting with integrity. I think just a quick call out also, what you just said in the past 90 seconds is going to be so good for so many people to just rewind and listen to over and over, because whether they're looking to like borrow your courage or borrow your wisdom on how to, put their foot down in something, a lot of people are. I mean, you've been in Hollywood for a long time too. It's amazing how many people I meet that on the outside are very, very accomplished, but on the inside cannot do what you just did with your agency. Like, they're too scared to stand up for themselves or to put their foot down, or they're too insecure. When you did it, because a lot of people fear, oh, well, what if my other, like in this example, what if my next agency is not as good? Or what if I'm giving up on something where they really know me, or like any of the other things? How did it feel that the right after you gave them that news, how did that feel?
Well, I mean, one of my conversations with one of my agents was quite emotional, actually, because she and I had a personal experience a few years back, that was very meaningful and a difficult time in her life. And so we were, it became emotional. But again, I got off the phone and I spoke to my other agent who I had for many years. And I I felt proud, like, that I was able to face that moment. I felt proud that I was able to be an adult. I felt proud that we got emotional, like that connection. You know what I mean? I'm getting emotional just talking about it, because it is so meaningful, because all you really want in life is to have an impact on people, That's what I want. I want people to feel impacted by me. I want people to feel better and to know that, like, I'm your sister, And in that conversation with her, that was really, she reminded me that I was a good sister to her, and I had forgotten that, So I think with all of this, like, it's hard. Conflict is hard for so many people, but it doesn't have to be conflict. You saying your piece or standing up for yourself doesn't have to be conflict.
Yeah.
It can be easy,
Yeah. What I love so much that also happens when we do it is we're sort of like showing another woman how to do it,
Yes.
which is also beautiful, even though I'm sure they don't want to hear it at the time. But
Yeah.
it's like they're seeing an example
Right.
of how to do it. And you taking us through right now is also, and talking about how you felt proud that you were able to do it. and then you're reminded of your connection with that person. I want to say, Chelsea, in a lot of the research I've done for today and talking to lots of people, I felt like the through line I heard from people is that you're a kick-ass girlfriend. Like you're an amazing girlfriend to people. Like you're an amazing family member, but also friend. And I know that, you're doing that now there'll be so many people that maybe you'll never meet in person, but through your book and through the things you're sharing, you're going to impact them.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so because listen, that's the biggest compliment you could ever give me is telling me that I'm a great sister and a great friend. That's what I wanted to be. And that's who I want to be. I want to show up, and I would do it for a stranger. You don't have to know me. Like, if you're in need and I know you and I see you and I come across you, I will help you. You can fucking bet your bottom dollar I will help you, pick you up and patch you back together and do whatever I can because we have to stick together as women. I remember coming up in this industry and it being, it was just like, we've been ingrained in women like that. We have to compete with each other. And all of the blockades that I experienced in my beginning of my career were by women, not by men. And I was like, what's going on? Like I was threatening to them. Yeah. And in turn, they were trying to block my success. And tell me I didn't have the value that I believed I had. Yeah. And I found that so confounding. And so when I started doing my show on Chelsea Lately, I had my own, issues with people I've worked with before, where I wasn't gracious, maybe, or we had friction between us or we were competitive. But once I felt that directed at me, I made sure that I was never going to move forward professionally in that way. Like once I felt it, once I got Chelsea Lately, I was like, I'm going to share this spotlight with as many women, gay men, marginalized communities. Like I want people of color. Everyone was going to be a part of my playground because I didn't want anyone to ever experience what I experienced. Like, I'm going to come welcome you here on this show and share this, with everyone. And that became that show. And that's why that show was successful because it was inclusive, not exclusive.
Mm-hmm. It's shocking when you're a woman and there's enough things to worry about, but then we see that happening. And like, I'm 47. I have done plenty of things in my career. And I just had that happen to me recently.
Oh.
And I was like shocked with something I did in Hollywood. I'll tell you off camera. I'll tell you another time. But I couldn't even believe it by another woman who had so much success. I've come to believe in my life that our own, whether someone believes in God, the universe, whatever, I believe our path is divinely orchestrated. I don't think anyone else's success has anything to do with ours or can take ours down or impact ours. Like, I really think we're on our own. I think we're the only ones that can lower our vibration, think we're not worthy of something and mess it up, So I feel like when people are that way, it's such a bummer, but especially women. And so have you had that happen since?
Sure, I have. But I love what you just said.
There's so much more coming up in this episode. You are not going to want to miss it. But first, I wanted to share this with you. In life, you don't soar to the level of your hopes and dreams. You stay stuck at the level of your self-worth. When you build your self-worth, you change your entire life. And that's exactly why I wrote my new book, Worthy: How to Believe You Are Enough and Transform Your Life for You. If you have some self-doubt to destroy and a destiny to fulfill, Worthy is for you. In Worthy, you'll learn proven tools and simple steps that bring life-changing results, like how to get unstuck from the things holding you back, build unshakable self-love, unlearn the lies that lead to self-doubt, and embrace the truths that wake up worthiness, overcome limiting beliefs and imposter syndrome, achieve your hopes and dreams by believing you are worthy of them, and so much more. Are you ready to unleash your greatness and step into the person you were born to be? Imagine a life with zero self-doubt,
and unshakable self-worth. Get your copy of Worthy, plus some amazing thank you bonus gifts for you at worthybook.com or the link in the show notes below. Imagine what you'd do if you fully believed in you. It's time to find out with Worthy. Imagine, what would you do if you fully believed in you? My weekly free inspirational newsletter is packed with tips and tools to help you find out. It's called One-on-One with Jamie, and it's delivered right to your inbox each Tuesday morning. It's a love letter from me to you, from my soul to yours, and I hope it brings you the words and messages you need at just the right moment. Plus, when you're a part of my free inspirational newsletter community, you'll be the first to get behind-the-scenes content, inspirational messages, and be the first to learn about upcoming events and more. It's the place to be, and I sure hope you'll join me there. So if you're not on the list yet, you can sign up for free at jamiekernlima.com or click the link in the show notes below. And here's to becoming unstoppable together. And now more of this incredible conversation together. When people are that way, it's such a bummer, but especially women. And so have you had that happen since?
Sure, I have. But like, I mean, I love what you just said. You know, blowing out someone else's candle doesn't make yours brighter. That's not a real thing. And it's hard in the world we live in. I am a victim of this too, where I look at someone else's success who's succeeded beyond mine and been like, oh, I wish I had done that. Or, oh, and it's a constant reminder to remember what you just said. That is not your path. You're on your path.
Yeah.
Like, if anything, use that as a motivator. Change that like drumbeat in your head that, ooh, I don't like that. They got that or they got that. Change that drumbeat like, yeah, that's success.
Yeah.
One more woman succeeding means more success for all of us.
Yes.
You know, you have to always change those kind of negative thought patterns around to be optimistic and to be hopeful. And it's so much more infectious to be optimistic and to be hopeful and to be happy about people rather than talking shit behind people's back and gossiping and all of the like small vibrational qualities.
Yes.
I've done that in my life and it has yielded the results that weren't beneficial to me.
Yeah.
You know, when you change your attitude and you change the way you look at things and that you want success for everyone. I want success for women and for people who don't feel seen. I want everyone to feel successful in life.
Yeah.
And when you spread that around, first of all, you see more of it.
Yep.
And you realize that it starts to infuse you with joy and happiness for others in a way which you were maybe unfamiliar with feeling in the past.
Woo! That is so good. That like right there. No, I feel like that is the greatest life advice. That is people spend so much time trying to figure out how to
Is it
get
okay
what
if I
they
sit
want. Oh yeah, you sit
applesauce?
however you want.
Okay.
People try to like figure out how to get what they want and then this and then that. And they think, oh, if I tear someone else down or oh, if I this, that, the other thing. I'll never forget Chelsea, Oprah once saying that to get the thing you want, you have to vibrate at the level of the thing to get it. And what you're just describing is so poignant and so powerful because you're saying like, once you want more things for other people, once you say we all rise higher, all of a sudden you get more of that in your own life and you also feel more joyful. And, you know, when I launched this podcast and every second I was doubting, is Oprah going to show up? I was like, I have to vibrate at the level of truly today with you, Chelsea, because this is our first day meeting in person. And I was like, all right, I know Chelsea said in her book, she's always on time. So I think she's going to for sure
I'm
show
early.
up.
I'm early.
I love it.
I love it. On time even. I'm such a loser. My parents never picked me up from school on time. So I've never been late to anything as an adult because I just hate the idea of being abandoned and anyone waiting for me. I hate that. I find it to be, I'm always early. So yeah, sorry. I was
Do you
way
feel like
early.
you have abandonment issues?
Yes, of
Yeah, me too.
course. I mean, I've worked through a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I don't have, I mean, I've had them. I would say now, no, I don't have a fear of abandonment. I don't have the same needs that I used to as a younger, like say in a relationship, a romantic relationship, I don't have the constant need for reinforcement or revalidation or reassuring. Are they coming? Are they coming? Are they going to call when they say they're going to call? Are they going to da da da? I no longer attract people like that in my life, so it's not an issue.
Yeah.
And I don't feel worried about whether or not someone is going to follow through with something with me because I don't have people like that in my life anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like,
That's
and
good.
it just like, if I say I'm going to do something, I will do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to ask you about this. This is, you know, I love that quote, success leaves clues. And when I learned, and you guys will all learn about this when you get Chelsea's book, I'll have what she's having. I'm always fascinated by these things that you can like tap into and be like, huh, and think back to your own childhood. But when you were a kid, I want to ask you about the first time you were on a flight with your family, the first time you were on a flight and you guys walked past the first class, went into coach, and you asked your mom, like, why aren't we sitting there? And she kind of explained like, oh, we have a family. We couldn't ever sit there. And I want to read something. Well, first of all, you said you thought to yourself, speak for yourself, right? Like speak for yourself. And you had this kind of knowing. You said, in my family, or if my family were content flying coach the rest of their lives, we weren't on the same page. And at some point, I'd have to split ties with them. And at 10 years old, sold lemonade and sold spiked lemonade. And then you called all the hotels, I think, one summer and said you were 15, not 10, so you could babysit for anyone who needed it. You saved all your money. And then I think it was on the trip to your grandpa's funeral, you bought yourself a first class ticket, and then the rest of your family was in coach.
Yes.
Okay, this is what I want to understand because I find this fascinating because you look at how successful you are in your life right now. You look at all the things that you've done, all the things you continue to do, everything happening this coming year, right? At that age, at 10 years old, because Oprah has this in common where she was a little girl and her grandma was like, you're going to have to learn how to hang clothes and the clothespins, work for a nice white family. And she says at this little young age, she had that knowing, like, no, grandma, I'm not. So you're 10, you're walking on a plane and you're like, oh no, mom, I'm going to fly first class. And you figure it out. But I want to ask you, like, where did that knowing come from? That seems to be maybe different from so many of the people that you were raised around.
I always had this feeling like that I was going to have a big, loud life. And I just felt like, the instinct and the knowing are two different things. Like you have a feeling, but you don't really know how it's going to materialize, right? Like, but that I had never heard that about Oprah, which I love.
Yeah.
And which makes total sense because I feel like she's our mother,
Yes.
in this earth, on this earth. She's someone I, obviously look up to immensely. And almost every book, I owe to her, like, because of all of her inspiration. So I love that you're talking about her right now. She's such a force of nature. And when I was little, I just thought, this isn't going to do it. Like, I looked around at my family and our house and I'm just like, this isn't enough for me. Like, I'm going to need a more consistent housekeeper. I'm going to need a housekeeper. I don't know what my parents were thinking. They had 6 children. I was watching the Brady Bunch, with the 6 kids and the mother and the father, and they had Alice. I was like, where's our fucking Alice? And I just, there was a materialistic sense when I was young because my parents, we lived in this kind of upper middle class neighborhood, and we were not on the same level as our neighbors financially, and that stuck out. So there was a materialistic aspect, which is, not the only driving force, nor should it ever be. And then there was a feeling of, I have so much to say, and it was I had so much angst as a child, especially after my brother died. I was so angry and no mechanism to understand how to digest that anger until much later in life. So it was a lot of delayed grief, but in those moments, I was motivated by my discontent. You know what I mean? I was like, my childhood was a placeholder. And even though it was filled with all these vivid, beautiful memories, and my family, I have this big, huge family that we're all so close, and We have these great relationships, except for a couple right now because of the election. But most of them, I I just had a motivating like anger. There's this book that I love called Letting Go by David Hawkins. Have you read that?
Not.
Okay, it's very powerful and it's metaphysical and it's really about your energy, but he talks about the levels of like kinesiology when you're in your most you at your highest vibration, and this is measurable scientific stuff, but obviously it's not as talked about all the time as other things. So when you're in anger, you are actually accomplishing a lot because you're motivated by your anger. It's not the highest vibration to be in, but the vibration right above anger is courage. So once you can get rid of your anger and turn your anger into action, it becomes courage. And I think that was very true for most of my adolescence. I was so torn. I was emotionally stuck at that 9-year-old little girl level because I didn't really compute my brother's death in a real way. I didn't have therapy. I didn't talk to anyone, and that drove me. That combined with my family life, and I just thought like I'm gonna be a woman who stands out and stands up, and I'm gonna figure out how I'm gonna do it. And when I moved to LA when I was 19 years old, my aunt and uncle lived there. They had 9 children. And they lived on Beverly Glen Boulevard, and I moved in with them. I had no money. I drove across country by myself, and I hustled. I didn't have any connections in this industry. I didn't know anyone except for my aunt and uncle, and they were not in this business. And I remember my aunt sitting down at the kitchen table, and I said, "I'm going to become famous." And I said, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I have a lot to say and I'm going to help a lot of people. And my aunt looked at me and said, well, you better lose some weight. and I looked at her and I said, okay. I just like, okay, not okay, I have to lose some weight. Just like, okay, that's how you're reacting to my desire to say something that's kind of embarrassing to say, I want to be famous. What does that mean? You're just an idiot. That doesn't mean anything. But I didn't understand then what my purpose was. Something was driving me towards the public eye that could have been thought of as shallow. And sometimes when I think back, I go, God, all you want to do is be. Now I know why I wanted to do that. You know what I mean? Now I know why. Now I know why when I go on stage and I get to perform in front of 3,000 to 5,000 people, and people have paid their money to see me, and I get to watch strangers sit next to each other in an audience and laugh together next to a stranger, that I get to provide that I get to go out on that stage and provide joy and sunshine and healing and let people forget about this craziness, that we live in every day. Like that is a gift. That is my purpose. Being able to write my stories and share my love and my success with all of these people I've never met get to share in my success, That is really what it was about, but I was too young to understand that. Now I understand that was the purpose all along. That was what that drive and that motivation was. I was going towards something, but I had kind of, I didn't really understand the magnitude of why I wanted it to be successful and why I wanted to be in the public.
What I love too, that I just want to call out, especially for everyone listening, is like, so you had this knowing, I guess, that this isn't going to cut it for my life. I want to have a big life. I wanted this, that. You are now at your aunt's, your aunt and uncles, and you're telling your aunt, you're declaring it out loud, like, I'm going to be famous. I'm going to impact a lot of people. And then you did something about it, like you went for it. And I think that's so important. Even back to when you were 10, you didn't just think, oh, one day I'm going to have a first class ticket. You declared it, like you said to your mom, and then you did something about it. Like you took action, and through a lemonade stand that was, lemonade and hard lemonade. I think your sister, right? Your sister had like 50%. It was like a 50-50 split, and you thought that was too much. You fired her. You hired Nelson. He got 10%, right? So then you got 90%. All the things you hustled from that age, and you made it happen. And I want to call that out because I think part of your impact, I think part of what's so beautiful is that, sometimes we can go through experiences and people can take shortcuts in their own life because of them. And I'll never forget, Chelsea, you just reminded me of something. I was like 8 years old sitting in my living room watching this interview where Barbara Walters interviewed Oprah, and Oprah said on this program, and she was early in her career, but she said, I always knew I was destined for greatness. And I remember sitting in my living room as a little kid feeling like me too, like me too, like I have this feeling. And then she got so much, oh my gosh, she got just horribly attacked in the press for saying that. I think people weren't used to a woman
No, of course
speaking
not.
so confidently at the time. But I remember having that whisper. And I remember, when I launched Beauty Company in my living room, same thing. I didn't know anyone in the industry. I didn't know how I was going to do it. But I just kind of was like, you know what? I feel like I'm supposed to do it. And then it was like taking action. And so I just want to call that out because if you think about the circumstances you were in at 10 that you describe, and then you're with your aunt and uncle and all their kids and all the things that you're doing, your circumstances don't have to define whether or not you can go for the thing. And I think a lot of people right now have a whisper like, maybe I'm supposed to impact people too, or maybe I'm supposed to, but they're not declaring it. They're not saying, and then they're not doing anything about it. And so I just want to call that out, that I think that that's like a recipe you just shared that's really powerful because it happened when you were younger. It happened before you were famous. Look at you now. Look at all the things that you're doing. And
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
go,
I mean,
go,
I guess
go.
I do because I just. But anyway, I wanted to cap off the story before I forget with regard to my aunt. So my aunt, for many years after that, when I started to become successful, and we would always tell that story. Like all of the kids, my cousins are very close to me. My cousin is on the road with me every weekend. I grew up with those kids, right? And they're still obviously they're very close to me today. So whenever we would tell that story, I remember my aunt's name is Gabby. We'd be like, remember Gabby when you told Chelsea she was fat and she wasn't going to be successful? And she would be like, I never said that. I never said that. I never said that. So about 10 years ago, she was in a tough spot and I was able to buy her a house. And we surprised her. I went with my two cousins. And she had just come out of a divorce, and we bought a house for her in the Valley. We brought her to the house to look at it, and as we were looking through, at it, we were like, "This is your house," and it had a pool, and she loves her grandchildren, so it was like so meaningful, right? And my cousin had the actual video of her telling me that I was going to that if I wanted to make it in Hollywood, I was going to have to lose weight, which she had been denying. And this is so our family. We're rough on each other. You know what I mean? We really give it to each other hard. And so we go back into the house and my cousin puts the tape in the VCR at the time when they still had VCRs and said, by the way, Mom, this is what you said never happened. So on the day that I was able to gift her this house,
Yes.
we had that footage and they played it for my aunt. And it was just so funny, because it was such an emotional day. And we obviously, our family's not that great at emotion. We try to make each other laugh more than we try to make each other cry. So it was a really funny, full circle, gorgeous, gorgeous moment in my life.
That must have felt incredible, gifting her a house.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I think is so beautiful? In your book is so many people know your humor and your power and your advocacy and how tough you are. And you also have so much empathy.
Yeah, well, I had to pick that up in therapy. Apparently, I didn't have empathy for a long time.
I've heard you say that before.
Yeah.
I'm watching you cry about gifting your aunt a house, which is such a generous, empathetic thing to do. Like, it's just, yeah.
Yeah.
So can you learn empathy?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
You can totally learn empathy. That's the greatest update ever.
Yeah.
The two things I was so scared about when I went into therapy was, first of all, I didn't know I had empathy. I lacked empathy. I didn't not have it. I just lacked it. I had sympathy and I had generosity, but they're not the same thing. I wasn't thinking about what it would be like to be a different person. I would only go, oh, that person's in trouble. Let me help them. I never thought, what is it like to be them? What is it like to be that person? So the good news is you can gain empathy because it's just like turning a light on that's not on. Thinking about walking in another person's shoes is now something that happens to me daily, regularly, all day long. I think, oh, that person, what they must be going through, or is that person okay? And don't take this personally. That person could be going through something, like, and thinking about what they might be going through. And the biggest fear I had about entering into therapy when I did, and was that I was a narcissist, you know? And so I asked my therapist, this guy, Dan Siegel, who's incredible and just changed my life forever. I said, am I a narcissist? Like, I need you to really be honest with me.
Yeah.
And he was like, typically narcissists aren't looking for feedback. And I was like, hallelujah, you know? Like, I was so paranoid that I was this bad person. Yeah. And I was never a bad person. I have been angry and I've been confused and I've been hurt, but I've not ever been a bad person. And I think so many people can get confused in thinking that we're bad because we have negative thoughts, or we have human thoughts. Like, your humanity is going to create dark thoughts. We all have a shadow self. We all have a self that's not our best self. Yeah. That is like kind of always like trying to get us to lower our vibe. Yeah. But we're innately good. Yeah. You know? And so that was a relief to find out all of that information. Yeah. Because I want to be good. I want to be a good girl. You know what I mean? And not the way that, like, I don't want to be submissive. I want to be a good girl because I want to be a good person and I want to help other people be good women.
Yeah, yeah. You know what I think one of the things too that people get confused about is most people aren't honest about who they are. They hide, their shadow self, or they hide, frankly, parts of them that are perfectly great, but like other people might judge them, or they hide all these things and then they show up on social media with their highlight reel with a thing as their representative, the person that they think. And a lot of people get this so wrong, I feel, Chelsea. I think that people feel all this pressure like, oh, I need to show up as my representative for other people to like me, when it is like, you look at all the data, it's impossible to have a real human connection unless you're fully who you are.
If you're presenting.
Yeah, if you're presenting.
If you're presentational and you're coming, like if I were coming here and thinking, how am I going to impress you? I hope you like me. Yeah. That's much different than me coming in and being completely present with you so that there's not even any of that. Of course, we're going to like each other, like, be real. Yeah. Whoever you are is fine. You don't have to impress people with your humor or your personality. That all comes naturally as long as you are present. Yeah. And that's something Oprah talks about all the time. I remember listening to like 10 episodes between her and Eckhart Tolle about presence. And I was like, what the fuck are they talking about? Like, it took me so long to click in. And they had this series and people would call in and ask the questions that I was wondering. Like, okay, how does this apply to eating? How does this apply to friendship? How does it? Yeah. And it's like, presence. How can you do that? How can you achieve that in the society that we're living in? Very easily. It's a minute by minute thing. Like, being present is the biggest gift you can give yourself, to not be consumed with worry about the past or something that happened, to kind of look at everything and know it's going to be okay either way. Either way, it's going to be okay. Whatever the outcome is, whether it works in my favor or doesn't, I will survive.
Coming up, this conversation is so incredible, so transformative, and also so inspiring that we made it into 3 parts. And if you're ready to learn how to be an incredible girl's girl, choose yourself over a relationship that's asking you to abandon yourself, build the courage to be more bold, confident, and free, get what you want in life, and step into your purpose, you are not going to want to miss part 2 with Chelsea Handler, coming up in the next episode of the Jamie Kern Lima Show. If you loved today's episode, my only ask is that you please click the follow or subscribe button for the show on your app and give it a 5-star rating or review, and then share this episode with everyone you believe in. Share it with another person in your life who could benefit from it. Post it and share it with others online or in your community who just might need the words and tools and lessons in this episode today. You never know whose life you're meant to change today by sharing this episode. And thank you so much for joining me today. Before you go, I want to share some words with you that couldn't be more true. You, right now, exactly as you are enough and fully worthy. You're worthy of your greatest hopes, your wildest dreams, and all the unconditional love in the world. And it's an honor to welcome you to each and every episode of the Jamie Kern Lima Show. Here, I hope you'll come as you are. Heal where you need. Blossom what you choose. Journey toward your calling and stay as long as you'd like because you belong here. You are worthy. You are loved. You are love. And I love you. And I cannot wait to join you on the next episode of the Jamie Kern Lima Show. Do you struggle with negative self-talk? Living with a constant mental narrative that you're not good enough is exhausting. I know because I spent most of my life in that habit. The words you say to yourself about yourself are so powerful. And when you learn to take control over your self-talk, it's life-changing. And I wanted to give you a free resource that I created for you if this is something that could benefit your life. It's called 5 Ways to Overcome Negative Self-Talk and Build Self-Love. And it's a free how-to guide to overcome that negative self-talk, to build confidence and develop unshakable self-love so that you can dream big and keep going in the pursuit of your goals. Don't let self-sabotaging thoughts hinder your progress any longer. It's time to rewrite the script of your life, one filled with self-love, resilience, and unwavering belief. If you're ready to take charge of your narrative, build unwavering confidence, and empower yourself to persevere on the path to your dreams, you can grab your free guide to stop overthinking and learn to trust yourself at jamiekernlima.com/resources or click the link in the show notes below. Who you spend time around is so important, as energy is contagious, and so is self-belief. And I'd love to hang out with you even more, especially if you could use an extra dose of inspiration, which is exactly why I've created my free weekly newsletter that's also a love letter to you, delivered straight to your inbox from me. If you haven't signed up to make sure that you get it each week, just go to jamiekernlima.com to make sure you're on the list, and you'll get your One-on-One with Jamie weekly newsletter and get ready to believe in you. If you're tired of hearing the bad news every single day and need some inspiration, some tips, tools, joy, and love hitting your inbox, I'm your girl. Subscribe at jamiekernlima.com or in the link in the show notes.
I am so excited for this book. You know why? Because it's going to save so many people. It's going to save people. Worthy, your new beautiful book, Worthy.
Get this book.
This book, I'm telling you, it's a book that can change anybody's life who picks it up. Anybody who's ever felt that they were not good enough, didn't measure up, something's missing in your life, I have to tell you, it's powerful. It's happening. It's worthy.
Imagine, what would you do if you fully believed in you? I went from struggling waitress facing nonstop rejection to founder of It Cosmetics, a billion-dollar company, by learning how to overcome self-doubt and believe I am worthy of my hopes and dreams. And I'm sharing how you can too in my new book, Worthy, How to Believe You Are Enough and Transform Your Life. If you're ready to truly trust yourself and break through that barrier of self-doubt, and know that where you come from, or even where you are right now, doesn't determine where you're going, then Worthy is for you. It's time to go from doubting you're enough to knowing you're enough. It's time to step into all of who you are and into the person you were born to be. And it's time to believe that you are worthy of it. Because in life, we don't become what we want. We become what we believe we're worthy of. Join the Worthy movement today by grabbing your copy of Worthy anywhere books are sold. Then head to worthybook.com now for free gifts, including my 5-part course on becoming unstoppable and my 95-page Worthy Workbook action plan that teaches you how to implement the tools from the book into your real life right now.
Worthy is groundbreaking.
This book is going to change lives.
This book literally will teach you how to actually feel worthy so that you can have the strength, you can have the confidence.
The lessons in this book and the strategies will change your life. You will never be the same again after you read this book.
Jamie's book, Worthy, is a must read. It is going to inspire you, empower you, give you the hope that you need and the kick in the rear end that you deserve.
Jamie's book, Worthy, is incredible.
The gifts are going away, but they're all free right now on worthybook.com. It's such an honor to share this podcast together with you. And please note, I'm not a licensed therapist, and this podcast is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or other qualified professional. If you love this incredible episode with Chelsea Handler, I promise you're also going to love this life-changing episode of the Jamie Kern Lima Show right here. It's up next just for you.